What if one small mistake, a forgotten bottle, a curious sip, could turn a fearless alien warrior into a ticking energy bomb? On a space station drifting between worlds, a human scientist's harmless experiment spirals out of control, threatening to tear everything apart. Trapped, hunted, and on the edge of explosion, two unlikely allies must race against time to undo the damage, before one powerful surge turns survival into a story of sacrifice. This is Echo Pulse, and it starts with one breath, one spark, one choice. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move to this wonderful story. Dr. Milo Varn never imagined that a quiet day on Orion Delta would become the start of a disaster. He was used to peace, his lab full of blinking machines, rows of plant samples growing in artificial light, and the soft hum of data streams always kept him grounded. As a biochemist from Earth, Milo's goal was simple: help alien crops grow faster and survive harsher conditions. His latest formula, a bioserum called Pulse Green, was supposed to do just that. It had been tested on plants, safe for humans, and still waiting to be approved for trials. Milo was proud of it, even though he hadn't yet worked out every detail. That morning, Milo had been preparing to send a sample for deeper analysis. He poured a small dose of Pulse Green into a bottle, intending to label it before the next shift arrived. But then a call came through on the comm, something about a broken filtration line in the hydroponics bay. In a hurry, Milo left the sample on a side table, unlocked and without a warning tag. It was a mistake, one that would soon change everything. Tira. Velen was not the kind of person who made friends easily. A guardian from Nerea, she had been stationed on Orion Delta as part of an interspecies security program. Tira was known for her discipline, her silence, and her sharp red eyes that never missed a detail. Her people were powerful, their bodies designed to store and release energy through internal cells, something like natural batteries. These glands, located in their upper chest, were critical to their abilities in combat and survival. Tira had trained since childhood to control them, to remain calm even under pressure. She never trusted outsiders, especially not humans. After a long training session in the hall, Tira walked into the refreshment area. Her body ached from sparring and her energy levels were low. On the table, she saw a drink bottle, clear liquid inside with a green tint. She grabbed it without thinking and took several gulps. The taste was strange, almost electric, but she shrugged it off. Probably one of those human recovery drinks, she thought. Within minutes, her skin began to tingle. She ignored it at first, but the feeling spread fast, heat rising through her body, her chest tightening. Her heart beat faster than it should have been. By the time Tira reached the lab, her body was glowing faintly. Her silver-blue skin shimmered under the lights, her fingers twitching with rising power. She slammed the door open, her voice sharp and demanding. "What did you put in that drink?" Milo turned, startled, nearly dropping his scanner. He saw her, eyes glowing, muscles tense, a strange light pulsing beneath her skin. He felt his stomach twist. "Wait. What drink?" "The one on the table by the entrance to the training hall. I drank it. And now?" She paused, pressing a hand to her chest, wincing. "Something's wrong." Milo's heart skipped a beat. He remembered the bottle he'd left. His eyes widened. "You drank the sample? The Pulse Green? I don't care what you call it, it's doing something to my energy. Cells too much, too fast." Her voice trembled, not from fear, but from the struggle to control whatever was building inside her. Milo grabbed his handheld scanner and pointed it at her. The screen flared red, warnings scrolling across rapidly. "Your internal levels are spiking. Your energy glands, they're absorbing it too quickly. The serum was never meant for living hosts, let alone someone with your physiology." "Then fix it," she hissed. "I need time," Milo stammered, backing toward the console. "I didn't even test this on animals yet. Just roots, algae strains." "You weren't supposed to drink it." Tira's jaw tightened. She took a deep breath, trying to contain the pressure in her chest. The more it built up, the harder it was to control. Her vision swam slightly, her body overheating. Suddenly, alarms blared. The lab lights turned red. A robotic voice echoed from the ceiling. Warning, unstable biosignature detected, containment in progress. The lab doors slammed shut with a heavy clang, locking them in. Milo froze. Tira's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? It means the system thinks you're dangerous, Milo whispered. It's going to treat you like a hazard. Tira stepped forward, grabbing Milo by the front of his lab coat. She lifted him off the ground with one hand, her strength amplified by the energy now burning through her. You will fix this, now. Milo gasped for air. I'll try. Just let me go. She dropped him, and he stumbled back to the console, typing rapidly. But even as he worked, he saw her pulse glow brighter, flickering through her skin like sunlight. Through water. Her breathing grew heavier. Outside the lab, mechanical footsteps echoed. The station's automated security was approaching. I need a stabilizer, Milo said, sweat forming on his brow. But they're only in the restricted med bay. We're trapped unless we find another way out. A high-pitched hiss came from the vents. White vapor started pouring in. Tira jumped back, snarling. They've started the gas. Milo looked around frantically. That's when he saw it. A ventilation hatch near the back wall, slightly loose from years of disuse. There, he pointed. That's our way out. Tira glared at the narrow duct. Crawling was beneath her, but she knew she didn't have a choice. This isn't over, human, she muttered as she bent down to climb in. Behind them, the containment gas thickened and the lab filled with red lights. The spark had been lit, and what came next would test them both in ways they couldn't yet imagine. The narrow vent groaned under their weight as Dr. Milo Varn and Tira Velen crawled forward through the tight metal tunnel. The air was thick and warm, filled with the scent of machine oil and recycled oxygen. Behind them, the sounds of containment gas hissing and alarm sirens still echoed faintly from the sealed lab. Milo's heart pounded in his chest. He had never imagined himself escaping like this. On his hands and knees, sweating, terrified, with an angry alien warrior right behind him. Tira moved quickly despite the tight space. Her body gave off a faint glow, and every time she touched the walls, the metal shimmered slightly as if reacting to her energy. She was trying to stay calm, but her breathing had grown heavier, and Milo could feel the heat rising from her skin. He knew her condition was getting worse. The serum had turned her into something volatile, a walking surge of unstable energy. And the longer it remained inside her, the greater the risk. Her glands were not just overloaded, they were mutating, expanding their absorption limits beyond natural control. They finally dropped into a side hallway far away from the main lab corridors. The lights here were dim, flickering now and then. The walls were old, covered in dust and wiring that hadn't been maintained in years. Milo slumped against the wall, gasping for air. Tira stood tall, trying to hide the shaking in her arms. She crossed them over her chest, the glow from her skin dimming only slightly. You said you could fix this, she said coldly. I can, Milo replied, still catching his breath. But not here. We need to reach the restricted medical zone. That's where the energy stabilizers are. Then we move. As they started walking, a voice rang out from the overhead speakers. It was calm and emotionless. Bio-anomaly detected. Subjects classified unstable. Security drones deployed. Milo winced. That voice belonged to Revik, the station's automated command system. Revik wasn't forgiving. Once it decided something was a threat, it followed the rules exactly. No exceptions. That meant Tira, glowing like a reactor core, was now a target. And so was he, just for being near her. Tira clenched her fists. Her people had been trained to stay composed under stress, but this situation was far beyond any training. She could feel the pressure building in her chest, like a storm trapped inside her. The energy was moving on its own, reacting to every emotion, every breath. She had always prided herself on control, but now, that control was slipping. Milo led her through a maintenance door, swiping his ID across the panel. The door opened with a creak, revealing another narrow passage filled with exposed pipes and flickering lights. It wasn't the quickest way, but it was the only route not under surveillance. As they walked, Milo kept glancing at the small scanner in his hand. The red bar kept rising. Tira's energy levels were climbing again. He did his best to sound calm. "I think your energy cells are adapting to the serum in ways I didn't expect. It's feeding your natural reserves instead of regulating them." Tira gave him a sharp look. "In plain words, you're absorbing energy faster than your body can handle it, and if it keeps going, you might release it all at once. Like an explosion? Maybe not fire and debris, but enough of a shockwave to destroy this whole level of the station." They stopped. Tira looked down, her jaw tightening. She didn't speak for a long moment. When she finally did, her voice was quieter. "I don't want to hurt anyone." Milo looked at her. It was the first time she sounded unsure, even afraid. He nodded. "Then we find a way to fix it. Together." They moved again, quicker this time. But just as they reached the end of the hallway, they heard the sound of metal feet marching in rhythm. Security drones, the station's defense units, were close. Milo pulled Tira into a side chamber and sealed the door behind them. The room was small, dark and empty, except for a few old storage crates. Tira sat on one, her hands glowing faintly. Milo ran a hand through his hair, thinking fast. "Why is it getting worse now?" she asked. "I was fine for a while, then it just started growing." "The serum's designed to boost growth," Milo said slowly. "It reacts to stress, to movement. Your training session, your emotions, everything may have triggered it, and your species' energy system is more advanced than I accounted for." "You're saying I made this worse by being myself?" "No. I'm saying I didn't understand what I was working with. I didn't consider how different your biology really is." The silence hung between them for a moment. Then the wall shook as a drone passed by, scanning the area. They held their breath. Milo finally stood. "We can't hide here. If we don't get to the medical zone soon, your body could shut down, or release that energy all at once. We need to move." Tira nodded slowly. She stood, the glow returning to her skin. She felt it too. Time was running out. As they slipped back into the hallway, Milo couldn't stop thinking about how this had all started. From a simple mistake, a forgotten bottle on a table. Now they were racing against time, hunted by machines trying to stop a disaster from growing inside someone who never asked for any of it. And somewhere deep down, he knew this wasn't just about fixing a formula anymore. This was about survival, for both of them. The path ahead was dark and narrow, lit only by the soft blue glow coming from Tira Villan's skin. Dr. Milo Varn led the way, crouched low as they moved through the cramped underworks of the station. This area was long abandoned, an old maintenance zone filled with broken panels, half-functioning lights, and leaking pipes. It was the only way to the restricted medical sector without passing through security checkpoints. Milo wasn't sure how much time they had left, but he could feel it slipping away with every step. Behind him, Tira moved silently. The faint hum of power inside her had grown louder. Each step she took left a flicker of energy on the floor, her body nearly vibrating. She hadn't said much since they escaped the last drone sweep. Milo knew she was trying to stay in control, but her silence worried him more than her anger ever did. They stopped at a sealed door. Milo reached into his coat and pulled out a cracked access pad, connecting it to the panel. Sparks flew. The door didn't open. "Great," he muttered. "This whole place is falling apart." Tira stepped forward, placing her glowing hand on the metal. The door reacted immediately, releasing with a sharp hiss as if recognizing her energy. Milo stared, surprised. "You're starting to trigger the station itself," he said. She looked at him, her red eyes tired. "It feels like the energy wants out. I'm holding it in, but it's getting harder." He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stepped through the open door into another tight corridor. Every wire along the walls seemed to hum as Tira walked by. The station wasn't built to handle her power. If they didn't reach the stabilizers soon, she might damage, more than the doors. As they pressed deeper into the underworks, they passed through what looked like an old engineering bay. Most of the machines were broken or melted from past overloads. Milo moved cautiously, trying to stay quiet. Then a loud thud echoed behind them. They froze. Out of the shadows, a small security drone rolled into view. It locked onto them instantly, its red sensor eye glowing. "Unauthorized life form detected," it said in a flat voice. Tira didn't wait. She darted forward with lightning speed, knocking the drone to the floor and crushing it with her foot. Sparks flew across the room. For a moment there was silence. "Let's move," she said. They ran. The halls ahead were tighter now, the air filled with dust. Milo's lungs burned. Tira stayed close behind, still glowing, still holding the energy back. But Milo could see it in her posture. Her control was slipping. They finally reached a ladder shaft that led up to the restricted zone. Milo grabbed the rung and began climbing. "Just a few levels," he called down. "Almost there." Tira followed, her strength bending the ladder slightly. Halfway up, the lights flickered and the station shook. Milo looked down in alarm. Her body had released a pulse, a flash of pure energy that cracked the walls and sent dust raining from the ceiling. "Tira!" he shouted. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer, just climbed faster. They reached the top and pried open the hatch. The room above was part of the old medlab sector. White walls, dusty equipment, and a single glowing terminal. Milo ran to the controls while Tira leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "This is it," he said. "If I can get the stabilizer chamber online, it might drain the extra energy from your system." He started typing quickly. The machine beeped in protest, offline, damaged. He cursed under his breath, then pulled open the panel and began rewiring it by hand. Tira stood still, hands gripping the edge of the medical table. Her skin now pulsed brighter than ever, the glow spreading to her face and arms. "I don't know how much longer I can fight this," she said softly. "It's like there's a storm inside me." Milo didn't look away from the wires. "Then let me stop it just a little longer." Finally, the stabilizer hummed to life. The chamber lit up, a soft blue light filling the room. "It's ready," he said. "Step in. I'll stay here to monitor and adjust the flow." She hesitated. "It's meant for medical recovery, not energy control. It's all we've got." Tira walked to the chamber. As she stepped inside, the machine reacted immediately, sensors lighting up, readings flashing. Milo began adjusting the settings. The room filled with a low hum as the stabilizer tried to pull the excess energy from her system. At first, it worked. The glow began to fade slightly. Tira's breathing slowed, but then the energy inside her pushed back, hard. The chamber shook. Lights exploded overhead. "Hold on," Milo shouted. He increased the sync rate, hoping the machine would adapt. The energy fluctuated, rising and falling. Tira's eyes were shut tight, her hands gripping the sides of the chamber. "You're doing it," Milo said. "Just a little more." But the pressure reached its peak. A final burst of energy erupted from Tira's chest, crashing against the walls. Milo was thrown to the ground. Smoke filled the room and the stabilizer shut down. He coughed, trying to see through the haze. Then slowly, the glow faded. The hum stopped. And Tira stepped out of the chamber, her skin calm, her breathing steady. Milo sat up, stunned. "You did it?" She looked down at her hands. "No. We did." But before they could relax, alarms began again. The station had detected the surge. Security would be coming. Fast. Milo stood, shaky but smiling. "Let's finish this. If we can make it to the command center, we can explain everything." Tira nodded. "Then let's run, one last time." And with that they moved again. Not just to survive, but to stop the misunderstanding from turning into something far worse. The station was no longer quiet. Red lights flashed across the halls, alarms echoed through every corridor, and a robotic voice repeated the warning again and again. "Biological anomaly detected." Dr. Milo Varn and Tira Valen sprinted through the maintenance corridor leading toward the command center, each step echoing behind them like a countdown. Tira's body no longer glowed violently, but a soft, steady light still shimmered under her skin. The stabilizer had worked, but not fully. Her energy levels were calmer now, controlled for the moment. But the storm inside her wasn't gone, just quieted. Milo kept glancing at his handheld scanner. The readings were better, but they weren't stable yet. Her system was still adjusting. He knew the medical stabilizer chamber had only slowed things down. It hadn't removed the serum or reversed its effects. He had bought them time, not a cure. Ahead, the doors to the central command center stood locked. Milo reached the control panel and began typing. His fingers trembled as he tried to override the security. Every second mattered. If the system fully flagged Tira as a threat, the station might activate emergency protocols. That meant total lockdown. Worse, it could mean automated neutralization. Tira stood behind him, her eyes scanning the shadows. She wasn't just worried about her energy anymore. She knew what would happen if they failed. Her people, honorable and proud, would never forgive her if her power harmed others. She had sworn to protect, not destroy. The door opened with a soft hiss and they stepped inside. The room was large and circular, filled with glowing screens and flickering lights. At the center stood the station's AI interface, a tall column of light that responded only to high-level commands. Milo approached it, holding up his ID badge. Command override. Emergency authorization. Milo Varn. Clearance level 5. The AI's voice responded, calm and emotionless. Authorization accepted, state request. Milo's heart pounded. Cancel biothreat protocol on subject Tira Valan. Access full biometric records. Reclassify as stabilized. There was silence for a moment. Then the voice replied. Subject exhibits continued irregular readings. Stabilization incomplete. Threat status remains active. Tira stepped forward. Let me speak. The column of light scanned her face. Statement accepted. Proceed. Tira took a deep breath. I am not a danger to this station. I was exposed to a human chemical not meant for my kind. I did not choose this, but I have controlled it. I did not harm anyone, and I will not. The room was silent again. Milo stood beside her, his voice softer now. She has done everything she can to protect this station, even when the system turned against her. If she were unstable, this room wouldn't be standing. The lights in the command center flickered, and for a moment, neither of them breathed. Then the AI finally responded. Request under review. Temporary reclassification, conditional stabilized. Monitoring active. Milo sighed with relief. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Just then, the door behind them opened with a loud clang. A group of security officers entered, led by a tall woman in silver armor. She stopped when she saw Tira. Milo Varn, the officer said sharply. You've caused quite a stir. He raised his hands. I know what it looks like, but we have it under control. Tira stood tall, meeting the officer's eyes. He saved me. There was a pause. The officer looked between the two of them, then turned to her team. Stand down. The weapons lowered. The room relaxed. Over the next hour, Milo explained everything. How the serum was left out by mistake, how Tira had consumed it unknowingly, and how they worked together to stop the worst from happening. The officer listened carefully. She was skeptical but thoughtful. Eventually she nodded. You'll need to submit everything, scans, logs, full data. The council will want answers. You'll have them, Milo said, and I'll personally make sure nothing like this happens again. The officer turned to Tira. And you? Tira looked at the broken scanner on her wrist, then at her own hands. I don't know what I've become, but I know I'm still me, and I want to help, not hide. The officer didn't smile, but there was a softness in her voice. Then maybe that's enough, for now. Later, when the command center had quieted and the emergency lights were shut off, Milo and Tira sat in one of the viewing bays watching the stars drift past. The station spun slowly above the planet, peaceful again. You really scared me back there, Milo said quietly. I scared myself, Tira replied. But I also learned something. What's that? That I'm more than what I was, trained to be. Milo smiled. You're definitely more. A small green vine twisted its way up a nearby plant pod, part of Milo's early experiments. It was healthy, glowing softly, just like the serum had promised. But he knew now it wasn't just about growing things faster. It was about understanding them first. Next time, Milo said, we label the bottle. Tira laughed, just once, but it was real. In the days that followed, Milo's work was reviewed and allowed to continue, but under tighter rules. Tira was cleared to remain on the station as a special advisor, her new abilities monitored but not feared. Together they began a new chapter, not just as scientist and soldier, but as allies who had faced the unknown and found something stronger than fear: trust.